Whether you love them or hate them, influencers run the internet. When we say the word influencer, it sounds kinda cringe. I mean, why not just call them YouTubers or streamers? Yeah, TikToker does sound cringe too, but influencer, it just has a icky vibe to it. And well, that's what we're gonna be talking about in today's video. Famous influencers that are currently standing trial. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Tuv, and we are finally back with my actual camera that is 60 frames per second. Oh my god, I'm sorry you guys had to deal with the webcam in the last video, but we're here now. And I'm not gonna lie guys, I can smell you guys through the screen, and you guys stink. And coincidentally, I smell great. And you wanna know why I smell so good? Because I use Cheeky. You see, before Cheeky even hit me up, I wasn't bathing, I wasn't showering, let alone using soap. But now, ever since Cheeky came into my life, I'm not gonna lie, showering and bathing is like a game now. It's like, I actually look forward to this thing. And I know, us as internet users, we get a lot of flack on the internet for smelling like, ass. So, if you guys want to smell good and make showering fun again, then make sure to head over to usecheeky.com/tub for 10% off your order, and shipping is free for US customers. And not only is Cheeky useful to wash your ass, but it's also helpful if you say a lot of bad words. So, if you want to get rid of that bad habit... Wait. With that being said, let's get right into the topic. Heston Cobb. So you've probably seen those TikTok videos where someone walks into a Target or Chipotle pretending to be the manager, right? Well, meet Heston Cobb, better known as Heston James to TikTok. That was the whole brand of this 21-year-old from Phoenix. Heston's been doing this for months, walking into businesses pretending he owns the place. He'd show up at Chipotle, for example, tell the real employees he was called in, then he makes a fake phone call, says something like, go ahead and bring the guys in, and just like that, a whole crew dressed as whatever establishment he was going to would march in with a uniform and basically just take over the store. For some, it was just funny and harmless pranks, but to the establishments, it was the complete opposite. Between March and July of this year, Cobb and his crew hit multiple businesses in Tempe: Pep Boys, Jiffy Lube, Big Brand Tire and Service, Highland Auto Repair, and yes, Chipotle. They dressed as employees, stormed into employee-only areas, and straight up refused to leave when asked. This video went viral and shows them crawling under customer vehicles at an auto shop while Heston poses as a mechanic. The real employees and business owners were obviously and understandably mad, so police arrested Heston on July 23rd after the complaints connected him to all the incidents. Not like there was much investigating to do there, he would post everything. They served a search warrant at his house and hit him with 13 charges total: 1 count of third-degree burglary, 2 counts of criminal impersonation, 5 counts of disorderly conduct, and 5 counts of criminal trespass. He's now facing up to 9 years and 8 months in prison, plus fines that could exceed $315,000. Officer Jessica L. says that these videos are definitely not pranks, they're breaking laws. This is criminal impersonation and trespassing. Now, a typical person in such a situation might just lie low and wait for their court date, but can you try to guess what Heston is doing while facing nearly a decade behind bars? Well, he's selling merch. Yes, he's selling merch featuring his own mugshot, apparently to fund his legal defense. Honestly, if you want to hate on it, you could, but it's pretty smart. Bro's got to get some money somehow because those lawyer fees are about to kick in. Interestingly, some well-known friends in the industry have also stepped in to help with the mission. One of them is Aiden Ross, who we've talked about on this channel several times. He went live on Kick saying, there are people who deserve to go to jail for a long time and they get less, like 9 years for pranks? Currently, Ross claims Heston's legal team reached out directly and he's willing to provide both financial and legal support. He claims that he's going to get him out of there. The thing about Heston though is that he doesn't seem to be someone who is in such dire need of money. I mean, his content was clearly generating serious money, and even the police noted the videos, quote, garnered millions of views and potentially generated large amounts of money. Prosecutors are considering harsher penalties specifically because of the repeated, monetized nature of these stunts. Right now, Heston's out on bail while this case moves forward. But honestly, whether he walks out free or not, the Tempe Police Department has said pranks have consequences, and Heston Cobb is learning that the hard way. Kyle Vazquez. Kyle Vazquez, a 21-year-old from Long Island with 100,000 TikTok followers and 5 million on Instagram, decided the path to internet fame was dumping food on himself at local businesses and filming inside people's homes without permission. In June of 2025, Vazquez was charged with unlawful surveillance, criminal tampering, and dissemination of unlawful surveillance images for a series of destructive, quote, pranks that left local business owners cleaning up his messes and homeowners violated in their own spaces. Again, we use the term pranks because that's what they call them themselves. But this is way beyond what any sane sane person would consider a prank. I mean, what this guy was doing was just insane. At Wing Wah restaurant, he poured an entire bucket of beans over his head and onto the floor, forcing the owners to close early just to clean up after him. At Ralph's famous Italian Ices, he dumped a huge container of egg yolks on his head right outside the shop's front doors, then fled the scene, leaving broken eggshells and yolks splattered everywhere for the staff to deal with. But these stunts were just the calmer ones. Police say Vazquez was also targeting homeowners, telling them he needed to use their bathrooms, then leaving messes behind while secretly recording inside their homes. The unlawful surveillance charges suggest he was filming people without their consent and potentially sharing that footage on his social platforms. He of course pleaded not guilty to all charges, but if convicted, he's looking at fines of up to 4 years in prison, plus he was hit with 5 separate stay-away orders from his alleged victims. But even the possibility of being locked up isn't enough to stop people like this. It's a disease. For instance, even in the hearing, he tried something funny. He turned his back on cameras, appeared to bump court officers, and tried to escape through an emergency door. When a reporter tried to ask him questions, he flipped her off before his friends picked him up. And they all drove away taunting and jeering like they were leaving some high school party, not a criminal court proceeding. But the matter isn't over yet, and police are asking anyone else who thinks Vazquez has targeted them to come forward to finally lock him up. Mykhailo Viktorovych Polyakov. Alright, so that name is kind of hard for me to pronounce. So if you hear me call this person P, or maybe MVP, wow, that's a crazy acronym that this person has, that's why. So back in 2018, an American missionary named John Allen Cho got killed by arrows trying to contact a tribe known as the Sentinelese, a devastating incident that should have been taken by everyone else as a warning. But like we know, some people don't learn from other people's mistakes. I'm talking about Mykhailo, a 24-year-old YouTuber from Scottsdale, Arizona, who thought it'd be a brilliant idea to try the exact same thing. Mykhailo ran a YouTube channel called Neo-Orientalist, where he documented trips to some seriously dangerous places. His latest series was called Taliban-Controlled Afghanistan Through American Eyes. He just finished part 6 back in October of 2024, taking viewers on what he described as a 3-week road trip across what has become the unrecognized Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. The guy was literally navigating, and I quote, one of the most dangerous and unquestionably the most conservative country in the world. And he was doing this for content. But apparently Taliban-controlled Afghanistan wasn't enough for him. So on March 29th of 2025, Mykhailo decided to visit North Sentinel Island. If you've never heard of this before, it's a tiny island in the Indian Ocean where the indigenous Sentinelese people have been isolated for thousands of years. They are a protected tribe, protected from outside influence. But they also literally kill anyone who tries to make contact. And because of that, North Sentinel Island is completely off limits. Indian law bans anyone from getting within 3 miles of the place, again, specifically to protect the tribe. And for context, these people use spears and bows and arrows. They're deeply suspicious of outsiders. They have zero immunity to outside diseases. Something as simple as the flu or measles could literally wipe them out. And they've made it crystal clear they want nothing to do with the outside world. So in other words, an influencer could see this as a goldmine for content. And what does Mykhailo do? He spends a lot of time studying the sea and its tides, plans his approach, and heads straight for the beach. Police say he stayed there for about an hour, blowing a whistle trying to get the tribe's attention. When that didn't work, he actually landed on the beach for 5 minutes, left a can of Diet Coke and a coconut as offerings, collected some sand samples, and filmed the whole thing on his GoPro. Why Diet Coke? Why did it have to be diet? Why couldn't it have been, like, why? Authorities revealed he tried to visit the island twice before, including using an inflatable kayak back in October. Hotel staff had to stop him that time. When he got back from his latest attempt, local fishermen spotted him and reported it to authorities. Mykhailo was arrested on March 31st and hit with charges that could land him 5 years in prison plus hefty fines. When police questioned him after his arrest, Mykhailo reportedly told them he was just a thrill seeker. But Jonathan Mazauer from Survival International says there's something bigger happening here. Social media influencers are becoming a new threat to uncontacted tribes, as if there's some type of attraction for just farming views. As of now, Mykhailo is still in custody in Port Blair, the capital of India's Andaman and Nicobar Islands. His next court appearance was scheduled for April 29th. A U.S. consulate official visited him in jail, but the embassy hasn't provided any updates on this case. Summer Wheaton. Summer Wheaton, a 33-year-old Los Angeles wellness advocate who built up over 100,000 followers on Instagram preaching about living your best life, had her carefully curated world come crashing down on July 4th of 2024. Wheaton was arrested in February of 2025 for vehicular manslaughter after allegedly killing 44-year-old rideshare driver Martin Okiki in a drunk driving crash. The whole thing started at one of those exclusive Malibu parties, the Red, White, and Bootsy Bash at Nobu, where Mike Tyson and Blake Griffin were mingling while Jamie Foxx, Tyga, and Wiz Khalifa provided entertainment. Here's what happened. Around 10:30 p.m. that night, police say Wheaton's white Mercedes was speeding at 81 in a 45 miles per hour zone when it crossed the center median of Pacific Coast Highway and slammed head-on into Okiki's Cadillac. The impact was devastating. This is how the Mercedes ended up, completely mangled from the front-end collision. Okiki was pronounced dead at the scene, while Wheaton and a passenger of Okiki's car were sent to the hospital with injuries. That man was a husband and a father working as a rideshare driver, just trying to make ends meet, and his loss was devastating to those he left behind. His wife Kelechi and daughter sadly lost a father and husband that night. Wheaton was, of course, charged, but on March of 2025, Wheaton pleaded not guilty. She pleaded not guilty to vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated, DUI, and causing great bodily injury. She walked into that Van Nuys courthouse wearing 6-inch heels like she was heading to a photo shoot, not facing serious felony charges. The family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Wheaton, Nobu, and the party organizer, claiming she was severely intoxicated and impaired, and that the restaurant knew she was too drunk to drive but gave her the keys anyway. But get this. Wheaton's team fired back with court documents that are absolutely shocking. She's literally blaming the dead victim for the crash. In her response, she claims Okiki acted, quote, carelessly, recklessly, and negligently, and that his family hasn't, quote, sustained any injury, damages, or loss. Despite the fact that the husband and father is literally dead, she's accusing the grieving family of fraud and asking the judge to award her money for legal fees instead of them getting any damages. And I haven't even gotten to the worst part yet. While she's fighting these charges, she's also been exploiting the whole situation for content. After initially going quiet on social media, she came back posting videos about how, quote, beautiful things can bloom out of despair, while hawking $35 faith-based planners. She's literally turned a man's death into a brand opportunity, telling her followers about her, quote, hard times over montages of herself hiking and at the beach. Currently, she's out on $230,000 bail. She's also wearing a Scram ankle bracelet that monitors her alcohol intake every 30 minutes. Her next court date is coming up, and her response to this whole situation might end up being just as damaging to her case as the crash itself. Johnny Somali. Of all the people we've talked about today, none is as problematic as this one. Johnny Somali, real name Ramsmi Khalid Asmil, a 24-year-old American streamer whose entire career is cultural disrespect and public harassment. And right now, he's looking at potentially 31 years in a South Korean prison for behavior that goes way beyond just being annoying on camera. Johnny's built his entire career around being a nuisance influencer. That's the term for the career of traveling to different countries and deliberately antagonizing locals for views and clicks. He's been banned from Japan, Israel, and now he's stuck in South Korea under a departure ban while facing a growing list of criminal charges that just keeps getting longer and longer by the month. In March of 2025, Johnny showed up to Seoul Western District Court an hour late wearing a MAGA hat, claiming he had a stomachache. When the judge told him to remove the hat, because you can't wear hats in South Korean courtrooms, he reportedly kept his hands in his pockets while answering questions, showing the same disrespect that got him in trouble in the first place. Here's what he's actually charged with, and it's a lot. Johnny currently faces 8 separate criminal charges in South Korea, including 4 counts of obstruction of business, violations of the Special Act on the Punishment of Sexual Crimes, breach of the Child Welfare Act, and 2 other undisclosed counts. The charges stem from incidents where he played loud music and spilled noodle soup at convenience stores, carried bags of rotting fish on public transport, and generally made life miserable for random Koreans just trying to go out about their day. But that's just the surface. Johnny's also accused of creating and distributing AI-generated pornographic videos featuring himself and female Korean streamers, including one popular creator named Bongbong. In South Korea, distributing deepfake content is considered a sex crime, and each count carries a maximum sentence of 10.5 years in prison. His pranks, if you can even call them that, range from kissing a statue commemorating the comfort women — these were Korean women who were subjected to sexual slavery during World War II — to waving Japanese rising sun flags and using Japanese names for disputed territories, basically hitting every possible cultural and historical trigger he could find. And more than once, he's gotten a good beating for acting like that in public. But this isn't Johnny's first rodeo. In Japan, he was arrested for trespassing at a construction site and caused massive outrage by posting his videos where he taunted train commuters about the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He's been permanently banned from multiple countries and kicked off various streaming platforms for his behavior. And now, with all his charges, he's looking at a default sentence of nearly 5 years, but if prosecutors pursue aggravated charges, he could face anywhere from 8 to 12 years in prison. You know what? I don't even use my soundboard here on the main channel. I use it for stream, but can we get a round of applause for him going to prison? Hopefully. Let's clap it up for that one. Hopefully this dude does get the 8 to 12 years in prison. And with the additional deepfake allegations potentially being filed, some reports suggest he could face up to 31 years total. At the last hearing, Johnny pleaded guilty to 6 minor charges, but he's fighting the 2 big ones about the deepfakes, so the trial is still ongoing. And according to this, even in court, he still doesn't seem to get how serious this all is. Thalia Alonso Diaz. Luxury cars, designer outfits, and that perfect Instagram lifestyle. We've all seen influencers flaunting wealth that makes us wonder how they actually afford it all. Well, in this case of Miami-based influencer Thalia Alonso Diaz, authorities say they figured out exactly how she was financing her flashy lifestyle, and it wasn't through sponsored posts. Diaz has over 150,000 Instagram followers and was arrested on August 13, 2025 for what Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office investigators are calling a credit bust-out scheme. Basically, she's accused of falsifying her employment and income information to trick BMW dealerships into approving her for loans she never qualified for in the first place. How did it work? Well, simply, really. Between February 23rd and March 7th, Diaz went on what investigators are calling a luxury car shopping spree, financing 3 different BMW vehicles from a dealership in Doral. These cars were valued at $35,997, $48,998, and $79,995, a total of nearly $166,000 worth of German engineering. Now, the problem with a credit bust-out is that it's not just about lying on an application. According to the NBC, people involved in this type of fraud typically falsify their employment or income to misrepresent their financial situation, causing automotive lenders to approve them for credit where they would have declined them if their true financial condition was revealed. And it wasn't some spur-of-the-moment decision. The Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office says Diaz worked with an accomplice to pull off the scheme, which suggests there might have been some inside help making this whole operation possible. That detail makes this case potentially more complex than just a single influencer trying to fake her way into luxury cars. She's now facing some serious charges: organized fraud, second-degree grand theft, obtaining a vehicle by false statements, and 3 separate counts of obtaining a vehicle by trick. With all the evidence Miami-Dade detectives have collected, her legal team is definitely going to have their hands full. Vitaly Zdorovetskiy. Next, there's another content creator who's built their entire brand around pushing boundaries, and it worked for him until someone finally pushed back. Vitaly Zdorovetskiy, aka Vitaly ZDTV, is that creator. And right now he's learning what happens when It's Just a Prank Bro meets a foreign justice system that doesn't find harassment particularly funny. The 32-year-old Russian-born YouTuber has been sitting in a Philippine jail since April of this year. And unlike his usual stunts, this isn't something he can edit his way out of. Vitaly was arrested in Manila after a live-streamed rampage through Bonifacio Global City, where he stole a security guard's hat, tried to grab another guard's weapon, made lewd jokes, and ran off on someone else's motorcycle. Over a dozen people were harassed in just 30 minutes of video. Philippine authorities charged him with unjust vexation, theft, and public disturbance. While some complainants have withdrawn their cases, at least one remains active, and that's enough to keep him locked up. The Bureau of Immigration has also labeled him an undesirable alien, but they can't deport him until his criminal cases are resolved. According to Legal Mindset, a YouTube lawyer tracking the case, Vitaly could face up to 18 months in prison for the remaining charge. And Philippine law is clear: you can't skip out on criminal liability through deportation. As Legal Mindset explained, once he serves his time, then the Philippines will have to send him somewhere. But that could be years away. Though it's not like anyone's in a hurry to see him leave. In fact, nobody wants him. Vitaly reportedly holds dual Russian and American citizenship, but neither country has confirmed they'll accept him if he's deported. He actually could remain in indefinite detention even after serving his sentence because of this. And you can't really blame them. Back in April of 2020, for example, Vitaly was arrested in Miami Beach for physically assaulting a woman who was out jogging. He later claimed he was under the influence of hallucinogenic drugs at the time, aka shrooms, and the case was settled privately without a conviction. After that Miami assault, sponsors dropped him and he briefly disappeared from mainstream platforms, but Vitaly found a new niche: vigilante predator hunting live streams, where he posed as bait to catch potential predators. The problem was, his methods were completely unsanctioned by law enforcement and often involved physical violence. Anyway, Philippine officials have made it clear that online fame doesn't grant immunity from local laws. Celebrity status means nothing when you're breaking the law in their country. Vitaly's an OG YouTuber that I'm sure a lot of us used to watch back in the day, but he's also one that makes you think like, why is he still doing this? I mean, the guy's been doing pranks for a decade and he's now 33 years old, still thinking harassing people is funny. At some point, you gotta give it up, bruh. But hey, he's in prison now and awaiting trial, so I guess that's what he gets. Let's head on to the next one. Chiara Ferragni, Italy's top influencer. A few years ago, Chiara Ferragni was literally the queen of Italian social media. She was the first vlogger to grace a Vogue cover, built a €75 million empire from a fashion blog called The Blonde Salad, and had luxury brands like Dior and Valentino sponsoring her fairy tale wedding to rapper Fedez. With nearly 29 million Instagram followers, she was Italy's answer to Kim Kardashian, glamorous, successful, and seemingly untouchable. Now she's potentially facing up to 5 years in prison, all over a Christmas cake. Yes, I know that sounds ridiculous, but this is actually a massive fraud case that's been dubbed Pandorogate, and it completely destroyed her career in the span of about 6 months. In December of 2022, Ferragni promoted special pink Christmas Pandoro cakes, FYI Pandoro being Italy's alternative to panettone. She was telling her followers that buying these cakes would help support the Regina Margherita Children's Hospital in Turin. The cakes were selling for €9 instead of the usual €3, and Ferragni was making it seem like that extra money was going to the sick kids. But journalist Salvagia Lucarelli started digging and discovered that no money from the cake sales was actually going to the hospital. The manufacturer, Polyakov, had made a one-time €50,000 donation to the hospital 6 months before the cakes even went on sale, while paying Ferragni over €1 million for the promotion. Consumers thought they were being charitable when they were really just padding Ferragni's already massive bank account. Italy's competition authority hit her with a €1 million fine, but that was just the beginning. Ferragni initially posted this tone-deaf Instagram video calling it a communication error while wearing an expensive cashmere sweatsuit, which went over about as well as you'd expect it, with angry Italians who felt scammed. The thing is, investigators kept digging around and found it wasn't an isolated incident. They uncovered similar schemes with Easter eggs and other products where Ferragni was promoting charity partnerships that weren't actually sending proceeds to the advertised causes. By October of 2024, prosecutors calculated she made an unjust profit of over €2.2 million from these fake charity collaborations. And just like that, your favorite influencer's clear sandcastle came crashing down. Major brands like Pantene, Coca-Cola, and Safilo canceled their partnerships with her. She stepped down from Todd's board of directors, closed her Milan store, and lost over 150,000 followers practically overnight. A €75 million investment deal for her company fell through completely. But wait, it gets worse. Or better, depending on how you're seeing the situation. Right around the same time her business empire was crumbling, her marriage to Fedez completely fell apart. Reports broke in February of 2024 that he'd moved out of their luxury apartment, and by November they were officially divorced. The split got messy fast, with allegations of infidelity on both sides and drama involving some paparazzo named Fabrizio Corona spilling alleged secrets about their relationship. In January of 2025, Milan prosecutors officially indicted Ferragni for aggravated fraud, and her trial is set to begin this month. She's facing charges related to both the Pandoro cakes and the Easter egg schemes. If convicted, she could get between 1 and 5 years in prison. The Tate Brothers. It's time to talk about the most controversial brothers in internet space, the Tates. Andrew and Tristan Tate have gone from kickboxing champions to self-proclaimed alpha males to facing a combined total of 6 criminal investigations across 3 different countries. And honestly, their legal troubles are so extensive at this point that it feels like it never ends. Andrew Tate, age 38, and his younger brother, Tristan, 36, are currently juggling criminal cases in Romania, the UK, and the United States, plus multiple civil lawsuits thrown in for good measure. Andrew's built a following of over 10 million on Twitter by promoting what he calls traditional masculinity, but what critics describe as straight-up misogyny. Problem is, a growing number of women are saying his real-life behavior goes way beyond controversial social media posts. So let's start where this whole case began, Romania. In December of 2022, the brothers were arrested after an American woman reported to the US Embassy that she was being held against her will at a property the Tates owned. Romanian authorities raided their compound and found 4 women, 2 of whom said they were being held captive. Prosecutors claimed the brothers used the quote lover-boy method, basically love-bombing women into relationships, then forcing them to create explicit content for sites like OnlyFans as part of an organized crime operation. Romanian authorities have identified at least 35 alleged victims, including minors, and they've seized nearly $4 million worth of the brothers' assets, cars, properties, watches, etc. Then, in May of 2025, the UK's Crown Prosecution Service hit them with 21 additional criminal charges. Andrew faces 10 charges including human trafficking, and actual bodily harm related to 3 alleged victims, while Tristan faces 11 charges related to 1 victim. These charges stem from alleged incidents between 2012 and 2015, back when Andrew was appearing on reality shows like Big Brother. The UK had actually investigated Andrew before. In 2015 and again in 2019, women came forward with and assault allegations, but the Crown Prosecution Service declined to press charges, saying the evidence didn't meet their legal standards. Now they're taking another shot at it with what appears to be stronger evidence. Meanwhile, the brothers are also under federal investigation in the United States, specifically by the Department of Justice for the Southern District of New York, though the exact nature of those charges hasn't been revealed yet. Florida's Attorney General opened his own investigation after the brothers briefly visited the state in February, with Governor Ron DeSantis making it clear they weren't welcome there. Now for the civil cases. 4 British women are suing Andrew in the UK High Court, with a trial that was recently moved from 2027 to June of 2026 because the judge was, quote, very keen to get on with the case. These are the allegations. One woman claims Andrew pointed a gun at her face and said, "You're gonna do as I say or there will be hell to pay," while another woman says he strangled her unconscious during sex. You'd think the only victims are these women, but according to them, that's not the case. That's right, these guys are painting themselves as the victims of a circus. They filed defamation lawsuits seeking millions in damages against some of their accusers, and 2 Romanian witnesses reportedly went into hiding after being targeted by a troll army of online harassment. Now, as we speak, both brothers are back in Romania after their travel ban was lifted, reportedly with help from the Trump administration. They're supposed to stay under judicial control while their Romanian case proceeds, but somehow they've been allowed to travel internationally. We'll need to wait until June of 2026 for Andrew's UK civil trial. Love Island's Biggs, Chris, and others. When reality TV stars pivot into social media influence, they usually stick to promoting harmless products, things like teeth whiteners and protein shakes, but a group of Love Island contestants decided to get into something way more lucrative and way more illegal. Here's Biggs Chris, Jamie Clayton, and Rebecca Gormley in Westminster Magistrates Court in July of 2024, standing side by side in the dock like they were back on Love Island waiting for an elimination. But this time, they were definitely not competing for a cash prize. They were facing up to 2 years in prison for promoting unauthorized investment schemes to their combined 4.5 million followers. Here's how they got there. Between 2018 and 2021, this man, Emmanuel Nwanzi, and Holly Thompson were running an Instagram account called @Holly_FX_Trends, dishing out advice on buying and selling contracts for difference, basically high-risk bets on foreign currency prices. Problem is, they weren't authorized to give that kind of financial advice. The Financial Conduct Authority says 80% of people who bought into these schemes lost money. But what does Love Island have to do with all of this? Well, Nwanzi wasn't satisfied with just scamming regular folks. He paid the Love Island crew, along with Toei's Lauren Goodger and Yasmin Ukelu, plus Geordie Shore's Scott Timlin, to push this dodgy investment advice to their millions of followers. And they did. So people who trusted these reality stars for relationship drama and lifestyle tips were suddenly getting financial advice so sketchy that it could literally wreck them, wipe out their savings and all of that. Anyway, all 3 Love Islanders pleaded not guilty when they appeared at Southwark Crown Court, and I know it sounds simple, but like we saw with the influencers who promoted crypto a while back, it can get tricky when the government gets involved in cases of financial fraud or misinformation cases. The trial has been pushed to 2027. Apparently, that's the earliest the court could fit them. Now, interestingly, the case is just one of the many dramas behind these guys. While they're waiting for their day in court, Biggs and Rebecca have been airing their dirty laundry on yet another Netflix show. They just appeared on Amanda Holden's new cheating series, where Biggs admits to cheating on Rebecca during their 18-month relationship. After this relationship ended, he got together with Summer Hawkins, who quit her teaching job and moved to Scotland to be his, quote, stay-at-home girlfriend. She got pregnant, they split just weeks before their son was born, and now they wiped each other from social media completely. It's the messy life you'd expect from a reality TV contestant. But back to the financial scam. The FCA is urging anyone who lost money because of their promotions to come forward. They said, and quote, "Our message to finfluencers is loud and clear." Get it? Like finance, influencers? Yeah, I'm sure you guys get it. They must act responsibly and only promote financial products when they are authorized to do so or face the consequences. It's honestly the perfect storm. Reality TV fame, social media influence, and financial fraud all wrapped into one messy package. Alright guys, that was it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like. If you're not subscribed yet and you made it this far into the video, I think I earned your subscription. With that being said, go check out my second channel, Tuvington, where I post my streaming clips and you get to see a little bit more of my personality, a lot of it more of my personality. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time I upload.